Did you know that dry food, even though it is practical, can be limiting your dog's health? In this video, you will find out how to transition from Kibble to BARF in just 30 days, with a simple, safe plan that works for dogs of any age, size, or breed. All explained in an educational and easy-to-apply way, so that your dog has more energy, a shiny coat, clean teeth, a strong immune system, and a much happier life. BARF isn't just a diet. It's a lifestyle that transforms the relationship between you and your best friend. Watch until the end and find out how you can start this transition that has already changed the lives of thousands of dogs around the world today. An ordinary dog, who for years has eaten only dry food, has no idea what is about to happen. The owner doesn't realize it either, but inside that bag of industrialized food is the reason for so many silent problems: hair loss, persistent bad breath, voluminous and odorous stools, lack of energy, constant anxiety. For a long time, this scenario was treated as normal, as if it were part of any dog's life. But the science of animal nutrition has already made it clear. It is not. Processed food, no matter how practical, will never have the vitality of fresh food. And this is exactly where the transition proposal is born. A 30-day journey that does not require haste, does not impose sudden changes, and that can completely transform the health and behavior of any dog, regardless of age, size, or breed. The starting point is simple: to understand why the food, so widespread, has limitations. Created for convenience, it undergoes high cooking temperatures, loses essential enzymes, and to compensate, it receives additives, preservatives, and artificial palatants. A dog can survive with it, yes, but it does not mean that it will live with full vitality. The difference between surviving and flourishing is exactly what BARF offers. BARF is the acronym for Biologically Appropriate Raw Food. The concept was born from veterinarians who observed how naturally fed dogs had more energy, cleaner teeth, stronger bones, and a more balanced immune system. But here the question arises for every tutor: how to exchange food for natural food without generating digestive problems? The answer lies in this 30-day plan, which works because it respects the rhythm of the dog's body, adjusts the intestine gradually, and shows the tutor, step by step, that it is not a complex process. In the first week, the tutor does not need to completely remove the food. The secret is in the balance and slow introduction. During the first 7 days, the dog's plate will be divided into two parts. Half will remain the usual ration, and the other half will consist of lean proteins cooked lightly in steam or water, chicken breast, ground beef of good origin, or even boneless fish, always without seasonings. This initial step serves to introduce the dog's body to the freshness of real food, but in a delicate way, without overloading the digestive system. It is common for the stool to change consistency at this time, becoming less voluminous and with a less intense smell, one of the first signs that the body is already starting to react positively. While the owner follows this adaptation, it is essential to observe the behavior. Many dogs show more energy in the first few days, asking to play more, showing more sparkle in their eyes, and even sleeping better. These subtle changes are like reminders that the path is correct, and it is in this careful observation that the tutor finds confidence to move on to the second phase of the plan. Because the transition is not just an exchange of food, it is also a routine transformation where the tutor learns to look at the dog's plate with awareness. But even in the first week, in addition to lean protein, small portions of lightly cooked vegetables should be added. Zucchini, carrots, and broccoli are excellent starting points. They should be chopped into small pieces or lightly crushed, making them easier to digest. Many owners are surprised to realize that the dog accepts these vegetables well, even without seasoning. The secret lies in natural instinct. Dogs, in the wild, consume plant fibers through the stomachs of prey. Here, this logic is reproduced in a controlled and safe way. With this first adjustment, the days pass, and the tutor realizes that the dog begins to demonstrate something that had been lost: pleasure in eating. The feed is often swallowed automatically, but fresh food arouses interest, aroma, texture, and flavor that return joy to the moment of the meal. This detail, although it seems small, has a profound emotional impact on the owner-dog relationship. Feeding time is no longer just routine and becomes a moment of connection. In the second week, the proportion changes. Now the plate must contain only 1/3 feed and 2/3 fresh food. It is at this point that the tutor introduces, little by little, raw, fleshy bones, always supervising the animal. Chicken neck, wing, or thigh, always suitable for the size of the dog, offer calcium, phosphorus, and a natural chewing that strengthens teeth and gums. The introduction of raw bones can cause fear in the inexperienced owner, but when chosen correctly and offered in the ideal size, there is no risk of choking. The secret is simple: never offer cooked bones as they fragment, and always opt for fleshy pieces, which force the dog to chew calmly. This practice, in addition to being nutritious, is also therapeutic, reducing stress and anxiety. At this point, vegetables can already be offered raw, but always crushed to simulate the natural process of predigestion. The addition of small amounts of fruit is also welcome: seedless apple, sliced banana, or pieces of watermelon. Fruits add fiber and vitamins, in addition to hydrating the body. Every little adjustment reinforces in the dog's body the message that the diet is changing in a gradual and healthy way. The tutor, in turn, begins to lose his fear. Common doubts: will he accept it? Will it hurt? Begin to be replaced by trust. The dog responds positively. Shinier fur, fresh breath, smaller stools, more balanced behavior. With each visible change, the tutor feels that he is giving the animal more quality of life. This is the exact point where the process turns into motivation. But the journey doesn't stop here. The real impact comes when, as it enters the third week, the food comes to represent only a small part of the plate. At this stage, the natural diet is already mastered, and the tutor begins to understand the logic of BARF's nutritional balance: quality proteins, adequate raw bones, fresh vegetables and fruits, and in some cases, natural supplements such as fish oil or ground seeds. The dog's body adjusts more and more, the intestine works more stably, and the animal's energy reaches levels that often surprise even experienced owners. However, the fourth and final stage of the transition holds the real challenge, because it is time to remove the feed completely. And this is where many tutors hesitate. The fear of the unknown reappears. Will my dog have all the nutrients? Or what if he rejects it? But when you get to that moment after 3 weeks of successful adaptation, the foundation is already built. The body is prepared, the tutor has already mastered the combinations, and the dog already recognizes fresh food as its main source of energy. The fourth stage, therefore, is less about risk and more about trust. Trust in a process that has already proven over 30 days to be effective and transformative. Still, there are important secrets to be revealed in this final stretch, because it is not enough to just remove the feed. It is necessary to understand how to ensure that each essential nutrient is present on the plate, day after day. And it is exactly at this point that the tutor discovers the key that makes this plan functional for any dog. In the third week of transition, when the food already becomes just a minor detail on the plate, the dog's transformation becomes impossible to ignore. The eyes shine more intensely, the fur reflects the light with a silkier aspect. The willingness to play seems inexhaustible. The tutor, who used to offer industrialized food almost automatically, now finds himself carefully preparing fresh meats, grinding vegetables, separating fruits, and even observing raw bones as a source of health and no longer fear. It is at this point that the relationship between tutor and animal reaches a new layer of connection. It is not only the dog that transforms, but also the way the owner sees the responsibility of nurturing a being that depends on him integrally. With each dish assembled, the tutor understands that he is offering more than food. He is delivering life, energy, and longevity. The third week is also the period in which the nutritional balance needs to be better understood. BARF is not limited to proteins and vegetables. It is a structure designed to simulate the natural diet of an opportunistic carnivore. Approximately 70% of the meal should consist of fresh muscle meats, always varying between chicken, beef, fish, and, when possible, lamb or turkey. Around 10 to 15% should be offered in the form of raw, fleshy bones, such as wings or necks, always adapted to the size of the dog. Another 10% refers to vegetables and fruits, which guarantee fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants, and the rest can be completed with fresh offal, such as liver and heart, sources of iron, and essential nutrients. This simple but powerful division ensures that the dog's body gets everything it needs without relying on artificial supplements. For the tutor, this balance may seem challenging at first, but when organized into weekly portions, the process becomes practical. Many owners find simple solutions, such as separating meat into individual bags and freezing, making the preparation routine quick and functional. When thawing on the day, just add the crushed vegetables and fresh fruits, creating a balanced meal in a few minutes. It is precisely this practicality that overturns the myth that BARF is unfeasible on a daily basis. When planned, the cost and preparation time can be equivalent to, or even less than, buying premium feeds, with the fundamental difference that results are visible within a few weeks. During this phase, the tutor also notices behavioral changes that go beyond the physical. The dog that previously showed signs of anxiety, excessive barking, or even apathy finds a new balance. More intense chewing of the bones reduces stress, fresh food balances the nervous system and the body, free of chemical additives, responds with greater emotional stability. Many owners report that dogs are more attentive, more connected with the family, and even easier to train. This link between nutrition and behavior is one of the least talked about but most transformative aspects of the natural diet. And it is precisely when everything seems to be on the right track that the biggest psychological barrier to the transition arises, completely abandoning the ration. For many owners, this last step represents crossing a border of fear. After all, the industry has spent decades reinforcing the idea that only kibble would be nutritionally complete and balanced. Breaking with this thought requires courage, but it also requires information. The truth is that when the tutor understands the correct proportions, learns to vary protein sources, and includes viscera and bones safely, BARF becomes as complete or more complete than any industrialized feed. In the 4th week, this challenge is finally faced. The tutor completely removes the feed and offers only fresh, natural, and biologically appropriate food. On the first day of this stage, many owners feel a mixture of anxiety and expectation, carefully observing each reaction of the animal. But what usually happens is surprising. The dog, already used to real flavors, eats enthusiastically without rejections. The body, prepared over the previous 3 weeks, responds stably. The stool remains firm and smaller, the breath remains fresh, and the energy remains high. The tutor, who feared problems, discovers that the adaptation had already been consolidated long before this final moment. Still, the 4th week requires attention. It is at this point that the tutor learns the importance of variety. It is not enough to offer chicken every day. It is essential to alternate between different meats, introduce offal at least twice a week, include raw eggs of good origin once or twice a week, and reinforce the balance with small additions of fish oil or ground flax seeds, which provide essential fatty acids. This variety not only enriches the dish, but also prevents nutritional deficiencies, ensuring a strong immune system and a body resistant to diseases. Throughout this last phase, the tutor also begins to notice a detail that goes beyond health, the emotional longevity of the bond. Each hand-prepared meal strengthens the bond between owner and animal. It's no longer about opening a bag of kibble and pouring it into a bowl. It is about offering conscious care, choosing each ingredient carefully, seeing in the dog's eyes the immediate response to fresh food. This gesture, repeated daily, transforms the relationship itself into something deeper and more meaningful. But it is at this exact moment, when the tutor finally believes he has mastered the process, that the most common question arises: how to be sure that he is offering everything the dog needs? This question, legitimate and necessary, paves the way for the real secret that underpins BARF as a viable long-term diet. Because more than ready-made recipes, what guarantees success are not fixed formulas, but the understanding of the logic behind each choice. It is here, in the final stretch of the 30-day plan, that the tutor discovers that the key to keeping any dog healthy lies in conscious adaptation, not rigidity. And when this secret is revealed, fear gives way to trust. The tutor realizes that he no longer needs to be attached to colorful food packages or industrial promises. From that moment on, the freedom to offer the best to the dog is in your own hands. ChatGPT said, "The dish no longer has traces of feed." The dog sits in front of the bowl and stares at the tutor with that happy anxiety that only those who have seen it know well. The tail wagging nonstop, the snout pulling the fresh smell of the meats, the attention fixed on the meal. The tutor deposits the carefully prepared mixture: pieces of muscular meat, fleshy bones of the appropriate size, vegetables crushed in bright colors, and a balanced portion of viscera. It is a simple dish, but loaded with intention. By watching the animal eat, chew slowly, chew the bones calmly, and swallow firm pieces, the tutor realizes that the scene represents much more than just food. It's a reconnection with the dog's nature, a rescue of instinct that for decades has been drowned out by the convenience of dry food. From that moment on, the natural diet is no longer just a 30-day plan and begins to consolidate itself as a lifestyle. But for this change to remain safe, some precautions become essential. The first of them is variety. Just as we can't nourish ourselves only on chicken or only rice, a dog also needs diversity on the plate. Over the weeks, the tutor learns to alternate between different meats: chicken on one day, beef on the next, fresh fish on specific days, turkey or lamb when available. Each protein brings a unique profile of amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. This alternation ensures that, throughout the week, the dog's body receives the full spectrum of nutrients. Another important care is with the viscera. Many owners are scared to think of offering raw liver or heart, but these foods are true nutritional powerhouses. Liver, for example, contains iron, vitamin A and B vitamins, in concentrations much higher than those of regular meat. The heart is rich in taurine, which is essential for the health of the nervous and cardiovascular systems. When included in moderation, once or twice a week, they become key pieces to avoid deficiencies. This understanding transforms the initial fear into respect. The tutor realizes that it is not a matter of offering leftovers, but of giving back to the dog essential parts of the natural food. The fleshy bones, in turn, continue to be silent protagonists of the process. More than nutrients, they provide oral hygiene that no brush or industrial snack can match. The act of chewing raw bones naturally scrapes away tartar, strengthens gums, and keeps teeth clean. This detail, often ignored, can mean more years of health for the dog, preventing infections, pain, and even complications in internal organs. Tutors who previously spent high amounts on dental cleanings realized in practice that nature itself had already foreseen the solution. In addition to the variety of meats, offal, and bones, the tutor discovers that small additions further enrich the diet. A raw egg of good origin, offered with a washed and crushed shell, adds high-quality protein and calcium. A few spoonfuls of natural kefir help balance the intestinal flora. Seeds such as flaxseed or chia, crushed, offer fiber and essential fatty acids. These simple details create a complete dish, capable of nourishing in depth without relying on artificial products. With practice, preparing these meals becomes part of the routine in a natural way. The tutor discovers that he can organize the weekly menu in a few hours, freeze individual portions, and daily just thaw and assemble the dish. The process, which seemed complex at first, becomes as automatic as opening a bag of kibble, but with the difference that it carries purpose and real health. This discovery is liberating. The tutor not only learned to nourish his dog in a natural way, but also realized that the cost is often similar or even lower than high-quality industrialized food. The myth of unfeasibility dissolves in the face of practice. It is also at this stage that the emotional benefits are consolidated. The dog not only has more energy, he demonstrates more balance on a daily basis. Anxiety decreases, disposition increases, and the connection with the tutor intensifies. Many owners report that their dogs look happier, as if an invisible weight has been lifted. The truth is that by eliminating artificial additives, the body finds a state of harmony that directly reflects on behavior. The tutor not only notices, but feels this change in daily life. However, it is common for external comments to arise at this point. Neighbors, relatives, or even traditional veterinarians who question the new style of eating. But is it safe? What if there is a lack of nutrients? These questions, although legitimate, can shake the confidence of those who are still establishing themselves in the process. And this is exactly where information becomes the greatest ally. The owner who understands the correct proportions, who knows the importance of variety, and who observes the signs of the dog itself, discovers that there is no room for insecurity. The visible health of the animal speaks louder than any argument. At the end of the 30-day plan, this is the scenario. A healthier dog, a more conscious tutor, and a strengthened bond. But that's not the end of the journey. It is, in fact, just the beginning. From here, the need to plan for the long term arises. How to maintain this sustainable routine? How to ensure that, over the years, the dog continues to receive everything it needs without failures or excesses? And, above all, how to deal with unexpected situations, such as travel, emergencies, or time limitations? These are the questions that define whether the tutor will really consolidate BARF as a permanent lifestyle, or if he will return to the comfort of food. And it's at this turning point that the next secret emerges. A practical system that turns maintaining a natural diet into something as simple as opening a bag of kibble, but with unparalleled results. The last step of this journey is not just about removing the food from the plate, but about consolidating a lifestyle that will accompany the dog throughout its existence. When the tutor reaches the 4th week and realizes that the natural diet is already the reality of everyday life, the question is no longer how to start, and becomes how to maintain. And it is at this point that the final key is born to transform BARF into a simple, repetitive, and sustainable system. This system is based on 3 pillars. The first is weekly planning. As with any well-organized routine, the tutor discovers that setting aside a single moment of the week to prepare meals changes everything. In an afternoon, meats are divided into individual portions. Offal is measured in the right amount, fleshy bones are selected by the size of the dog, and vegetables are crushed and frozen in small doses. This effort of a few hours ensures practicality for all other days. By defrosting and assembling the meal in minutes, the tutor realizes that the transition is no longer a challenge to become a habit. The second pillar is the controlled variety. The tutor understands that it is not necessary to offer all sources of protein every day. The balance is built throughout the week, and not from each isolated dish. This brings freedom. If today there is beef, tomorrow there may be chicken, then fish, and so on. Viscera enter on specific days, as well as raw eggs or natural supplements. This flexibility is what ensures the longevity of the process, without the rigidity that so often leads to abandonment. The rule is clear: always vary, but without haste, respecting what is available and accessible. The third pillar is constant observation. No manual replaces the careful reading of the dog's body. Consistent stools, fresh breath, balanced disposition, and shine in the coat are the signs that confirm that the path is correct. If something deviates from the pattern, such as persistent diarrhea or apathy, the answer lies in adjusting the diet. Reduce one ingredient, replace another, observe again. This active listening transforms the tutor into the guardian of the animal's health, a role that no food packaging could play. By consolidating these three pillars, the tutor discovers that BARF is not a passing plan, but a lifestyle that fits into any routine. And it is precisely here that the last myth is dispelled, that BARF is expensive or unfeasible. When organized, the monthly cost can be equivalent or even lower than premium feeds, especially since the dog, fully nourished, needs fewer visits to the veterinarian due to chronic problems. The economy appears silent in the long run and translates into quality of life for both the animal and the tutor. It is impossible to ignore the results that are consolidated at this point. The dog exhibits more defined muscles, physical endurance grows, allergies disappear, appetite becomes genuine again. He chews bones with pleasure, runs with renewed vitality, and rests with tranquility. The tutor watches every detail with pride and realizes that the 30 days of transition were just the opening of a much larger chapter. The bond that is created in this process is one of mutual trust. The dog trusts that he will be fed with the best, and the tutor trusts that he has made the right decision for the health of his companion. But the real revelation happens in the heart of the tutor. He discovers that he no longer needs to surrender to the empty practicality of dry food, that he no longer needs to believe in advertisements that promise health inside colorful packages. He realizes that with information, planning, and dedication, he is able to offer a long, strong, and full life to his dog. And at that moment, there is no turning back. The transformation became definitive. This 30-day plan is not just a formula that works for any dog. It is a lesson for any tutor. Health is in the details, in conscious care, in the choice of each ingredient. Over the course of 4 weeks, the dog learns to trust the real food, and the owner learns to trust himself. This union, built meal after meal, becomes indestructible. And when the bowl empties once more and the dog looks at the owner with wagging tail and grateful eyes, the message is clear. The journey was worth it. BARF is no longer a plan and has become life.